I'm Macy Egland. Salt, solar, overtime pay, and taxes on tips. The president's big, beautiful bill, which could clear the House today, could have wide-ranging impacts on your wallet. The bill would allow homeowners to deduct up to $40,000 in state and local taxes, known as SALT. Also under the bill, many adults currently on Medicaid will have to work, volunteer, or attend school for 80 hours a month to keep their benefits. Coming up in 90 seconds, we're diving deep into the potential impacts that bill could have on your family. First in Newsday, millions going to renovate the Smithtown Library. Voters approved a $16.5 million bond referendum. The library suffered significant damage in a storm last August. First in Newsday, the more than $48 million cleanup of a Superfund site in Port Jeff Station, it's now complete. Former aircraft manufacturing plant Lawrence Aviation had been leaking industrial substances.
That means that this dirty, dangerous, toxic site is now cleaned up and could be put back into a community use.
Now, this clears the way for new uses for the property, including a possible LIRR rail yard. Speaking of, summer Saturdays are back on the LIRR. The discount program lets monthly ticket holders travel at no additional cost to nearly anywhere the railroad goes. It's good for Saturdays in July and August. They can also bring up to 2 guests at just $1 per trip. Well, final preparations are underway today for the Macy's 4th of July fireworks show. The spectacular kicks off at 9:30 tomorrow night at Pier 17 in Manhattan. And a little closer to home, if you don't want to head into the city, tonight is TD Bank's Celebrate America fireworks show at Eisenhower Park. You can see Newsday's complete fireworks guide on our website, newsday.com. One of the most contentious issues in President Trump's big, beautiful bill is raising the SALT cap. It allows homeowners to claim more state and local taxes on their federal return. Andrew Ranger looks at which Long Islanders will benefit the most.
One of the bigger sticking points in President Trump's budget bill has been the state and local tax deduction. The SALT deduction, as it's known, was limited to $10,000 in 2017, something that Rob Warnock from Massapequa Park knows all too well.
My taxes went up when they took it away, so I think it's high time they put it back.
Tuesday, the Senate sent its revisions on the president's budget bill back to the House, and it included some changes to the SALT deduction. The previous cap at $10,000 was raised to $40,000, and the income limit was capped at $500,000. The SALT deduction would cap out at $10,000 when a filer's income is over $600,000. The standard deduction was also raised for those who don't itemize.
It's winning by not subtracting.
Martin Cantor, the director of the Long Island Center for Socioeconomic Policy, says in its current form, the SALT savings may only help higher income earners with large mortgages and taxes.
The fact is, if you itemize, this will benefit you. If you don't itemize and take the standard deduction, which is greater than your itemized expenses, then this won't benefit you. So it really depends where you are. For most Long Islanders, it probably will be a neutral effect.
Newsday Albany reporter Keisha Kluge says, because of that, the SALT deduction may have turned into a political chess piece to satisfy Republicans in high-tax states to pass the president's budget.
We spoke with several experts who said this was definitely more politics than economics. It really helps just a slice of taxpayers compared to some of the other changes they could make.
So whatever happens in the end to the SALT deduction in this latest budget bill, many Long Islanders tell me they just need some tax relief sooner than later.
We need relief every day. So yeah, let's hope this works for everybody.
Everything's so expensive these days. Gas is going up, food prices. Any little bit of relief would be great.
Andrew Ranger, Newsday TV.
And nearly 12 million people nationwide who depend on Medicaid could lose their health insurance with this bill. Newsday's deputy politics editor David Cruz spells out the changes and what people will have to do to keep their coverage.
The big implications, especially for Medicaid, are now that there's a work requirement for those who are eligible to receive Medicaid. In other words, if you either need to work, you need to volunteer, or you need to go to school for 80 hours a month in order to qualify for Medicaid. Now, the Congressional Budget Office said that that might be a problem for about 12 million people who might end up losing their Medicaid because they might not be able to meet that criteria. And so that might pose a problem for hospitals who will still have to help those who are not on Medicaid, uninsured, and that they'll have to eat the cost, and then that either might cause the hospital to scale back services or close. Now, on Long Island, there's about 680,000 people who rely on Medicaid, and so whether or not they would be impacted still remains to be seen. They'll have to commit, though, to those work requirements.
The spending plan provides help for people who depend on tips and overtime to make ends meet. Business reporter Victor Ocasio explains how that could help some Long Islanders.
This bill has a provision that would allow tipped employees to deduct their tips from their annual tax bills. It's called the No Tax on Tips provision. It was a big part of Trump's campaign last year. And in essence, what it allows is individuals to deduct up to $25,000 a year from their federal tax bill. The benefit is phased out for individuals who make over $150,000 or if they're joint filing over $300,000. So there is an upper limit as to who can claim this tax break. The bill also includes a provision that would allow workers to deduct their overtime pay from their federal tax bills up to a maximum of about $12,500 for individuals, up to about $25,000 for joint filers. And a lot of folks are arguing that this could be more impactful than perhaps the no tax on tips. It's still estimated by some groups that only about 2% of American households would generally benefit from this.
One criticism is that the rich will benefit the most from tax cuts included in the president's plan. So could it help Long Island's economy?
The bill does decrease taxes for the rich, and essentially the supporters say that that will produce a trickle down that will benefit sort of low income earners. Of course, all that is theoretical.
Now, the green energy industry is expected to take a hit. Virginia Huey explains why getting solar panels may become much more expensive here on the island.
The bill as amended is passed.
Congressional Republicans are on the verge of rolling back clean energy tax credits as part of the big, beautiful bill that's the cornerstone of President Trump's second-term agenda. On the chopping block is a federal tax credit for solar systems purchased by the end of the year, removing an incentive for home-owned systems that can cut energy bills down to as little as $17 a month.
Nothing about it is logical.
Scott Maskin is the chief executive of SunNation, one of the largest solar companies on Long Island. Maskin says the latest version of the spending bill represents a dark day for solar on Long Island.
At a time when Long Island, New York, and the whole country needs more power for data centers, AI centers, crypto centers, they're taking away the legs that support this industry and the 300,000 jobs across the country.
The federal subsidy covers about a third of the $20,000 plus purchase and installation costs, often allowing the systems to pay for themselves in 7 years or less.
That was the incentive, the tax credit.
Kim Catello used the tax credit to install solar panels on a Ronkonkoma home 2 years ago. She says if the Fed sunset the tax credit, it might have been a tougher decision.
If you're not really getting anything out of it other than a little bit of savings here and there, it's unfair.
Long Island solar panel installers are bracing for a drop in consumer demand, which they say will have a widespread impact across Long Island.
1 out of every 7 homes on Long Island now have solar on it. So our 10,000 customers re-inject about $27 million annually into the local community where they're not spending on their electric bills.
Maskin says the spending bill will also have a domino effect on businesses that support solar panel installers, including suppliers of parts for panels and delivery truck drivers.
This actually doesn't just tap the brakes. This puts the foot down on the pedal for a lot of mom and pop businesses and all the way up the food chain. It's going to be devastating.
Trump has labeled green energy initiatives a scam and has focused his energy policies on fossil fuel-based energy and nuclear. If the spending bill passes, Long Island companies say they will look to New York to make up for the federal cuts.
They want Governor Kathy Hochul to come through and say, let's increase the state tax credit from $5,000 to $10,000.
For Newsday TV, I'm Virginia Huey.
The tax and spending plan could also have an impact on Long Island farms. Newsday's Joe Workmeister tells us about the implications for farm workers.
The things obviously that's been in this bill is a substantial increase in funding to ICE. The threat on the East End could be, as more deportations are seen, what does that do to the workforce for these farmers who rely on undocumented workers to do a lot of the work that is required in a very labor-intensive field that is something that not everyone is jumping at to do. We've already seen these threats of deportations having an impact on East End farms. Farm workers have told us recently that there's a lot of fear in the community.
Meanwhile, what college students are allowed to borrow may also change. Reporter Darwin Yanis tells us about the proposed limits and restrictions.
For graduate students seeking loans, they would be capped to $20,500 per year or $100,000 lifetime. For students seeking professional degrees in areas like medicine or law, they'd be capped at $50,000 per year or $200,000 lifetime. There would be a cap on Parent Plus loans as well, how much a parent could take out. That would be capped at $20,000 per year or $65,000 per student lifetime.
The plan also calls for the end of deferments. Borrowers could choose a standard repayment or a second option based on income. See complete coverage on how the GOP spending bill could affect your life on our website, newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Turning now to your Thursday weather, kicking off your holiday weekend. We are tracking some possible wet weather that might complicate your ride home from work. Let's take a look. Right now it is a bit foggy here at Conscience Point Marina in Southampton. If we do see any rain today, it would be later this afternoon and this evening, as you see there on your day planner. Otherwise, partly cloudy, hot, highs in the upper 80s. No rain in sight for your 4th of July. Look at this. The sun will be out. There'll be a bit of a breeze. It's going to be gorgeous. That nice weather continues through the whole weekend and into the start of next week if you're taking Monday off. Tuesday and Wednesday, though, we do have a chance for some more rain, so enjoy this weekend. It looks perfect.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Sun Nation Energy, helping Long Island homes and businesses save with solar for over 20 years.
Here's what's up on Long Island this holiday weekend. A lot of these this weekend. The Jovia Financial Credit Union Fireworks Spectacular will light up the night sky at Jones Beach State Park. The display takes place at the Central Mall tomorrow night. There are several other fireworks shows across the island. Plus this weekend, the Fire Island Invasion, a reenactment and celebration of the first invasion by drag queens in the Pines. On Friday, performers from Cherry Grove in the Pines will gather at the Ice Palace Bar at the Cherry Grove Hotel. They'll parade through the streets of Cherry Grove to reenact the protests that denied drag queens access to a restaurant back in 1976. For admission information and more events, click Get More below that Newsday TV video box on our homepage.
I was a fighter. I was born a fighter. I wanted to fight.
Right here in this Huntington gym is where Long Island's Kathy Collins launched her trailblazing boxing career. Now, decades later, women are making history again with the first all-female fight card. And it all ties back to Kathy, who helped pave the way. What started as a workout turned into a fight for legitimacy, inside and outside the ring.
Girls didn't belong in the game. They did not want us there. But it was really hard to break through that. When they opened the door and said, all right, maybe, I just ripped it off the hinges and was like, yeah, no, you're gonna let me do this.
Just 3 pro fights in, Kathy got the call. She was heading to Madison Square Garden.
It was very hard to see a future in it back then, so there wasn't a huge pool.
She took on Andrea Deschamps, the only woman to beat legendary champion Christy Martin.
She had 44 fights, I had 3. I beat that girl from pillar to post, 5 out of 6 rounds. It was at that moment, now I've got 4 fights, that people are like, oh, she should fight Christy. I'm like, I've got 4 fights, hang on.
That fight eventually did happen, and for the first time ever, 2 women made 6 figures for a bout at the Garden.
For 5 years, we just built it and built it and built it to create the first mega fight between 2 women in the Garden. It was the pinnacle of the game at the time.
Today, thanks to the groundwork Kathy and others laid, the next generation is making headlines and millions.
That generation, I think, proved it. Like, we are here, we are competitors, we are ferocious, we will make this stick. And we did.
From Huntington, Carissa Kelman, Newsday TV.
You can read more about this story on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Stay up to date on Newsday.com and watch us streaming anytime on Local Now, YouTube, and all the other streaming services you see here. I'm Macy Eglund. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.